Let's turn our attention back to a dominant victory for Dublin against Kerry in the All-Ireland final yesterday. Hannah Tyrell's first half performance absolutely sensational. 8 points on the board for her alone by half time. I'm delighted to say Yvonne Byrne rejoins us now, former Mayo goalkeeper. Yvonne, good morning to you. How are you?
Morning, lads. How are you?
We should start with Hannah Tyrell because it was an incredible first half performance. What was it that gave her the freedom and the ability to do that, do you think?
Yeah, look, I just think that Dublin got everything right. They just got all their matchups right in defence. The middle eight, the half forwards, the half backs, the midfield were totally dominant. I think what it did, it just gave Dublin the platform to attack. They gave them space. I think Carlo came deep a lot for a lot of the first half, leaving the space for Hannah inside. I just think the ball into Hannah was unreal, and she just had the beating of Katie Cronin from the word off. Yeah, just the supply of ball and the space, and just the sheer class then of Hannah as well. Like to have she cleared the match sewn up in the first half alone, so it didn't really matter what she did in the second half. Like in the first half she got 8 points, like that's unbelievable in All-Ireland final, 4 from frees and 4 from play. She was just driving the force for Dublin, and then in the second half she turned supplier. Like, as in, it wasn't until I was watching the highlights back I was like, oh, she's quite enough second half, but it wasn't until I was watching the highlights back where you actually saw she set up some really important scores for Dublin. So she turned from, I suppose, score getter to supplier in the second half then. So she just had a great performance.
That's a real sign of the maturity of a player, where you're not going out trying to do exactly what you did in the first half. You realise that there have been some adjustments made, which means there's space being created elsewhere. Yeah,
really good sign of an intelligent player that she was able to bring other players into the ball or into the game. She wasn't trying to take the ball on herself and add to her own tally, and it wasn't a personal thing for her. As you said, she had the intelligence to see that the space had been created and to pop the ball off to players in better position, and that probably opened up the game. Like then for Carla Rowe, where she came in, I think she got her 4 points in the second half of the game. So when Hannah kind of stopped the score, Carla took up the mantle. So yeah, absolutely.
Obviously full credit to Dublin, Yvonne, for the performance, but were Kerry too slow to react, maybe to make changes, to switch, I guess, positionally as well?
I think so, yeah. Like, I was thinking about it back, and Hannah Tyrell had 5 points got in the first 18 minutes, I think, off Katie Cronin, and there was no switch coming. Now look, I don't know, is it that they were slow to switch it, or did they have someone better to put on Hannah Tyrell? I'm not so sure. Did they have the personnel? So were the lads thinking, right, if Kaylee can't handle Hannah here, we've no one better to do the job? I'm not sure, was it a case of personnel or the slow to react? Obviously not being inside the camp and seeing training and studying their form to date. Was there someone else they could have dropped back to do the job better? I'm unsure.
We spoke on Friday, Yvonne, about the importance of the kickouts and how crucial they were going to be in deciding the outcome of the match. And as it turned out, like, Dublin were so quick taking their own kickouts, and they really pressed hard on Kerry's kickouts as well. So that I mean, as a goalkeeper yourself, you'll understand the importance of it. But it was a crucial cog in the end.
It was. They really pressed Keir in the first half. Like from the throw in, Dublin won the ball and went down. Hannah got a point. And from there, they really squeezed the life out of the kickouts. And it was tough. Like, they went man on man, or player on player. And there was no getting the ball away. And they really put the pressure on Kira. And I think Kerry struggled in their kickouts. And what was a little bit disappointed for me was that at times in the semi-final and quarter-final, they did struggle at the kickouts as well. So, look, I don't want to take away from Dublin, and I don't want to put too much pressure on Kerry either, because the pressure that was applied by Dublin was phenomenal. It was just unbelievable. So it was really difficult to get the kickouts away. I know for myself it could be a lonely spot when that pressure is being applied. So it was a tough day at the office for the kickouts. I do think Mick probably went after, I think a lot of credit has to go to Mick Bowman and how he set up his squad, how they went after the kickouts, how the middle eight drove at Kerry, how he got his matchups right. Just everything that Dublin set out to do went right for them, as opposed to Kerry. I think Kerry maybe might reflect back on it. I think Dublin dictated the game from the word off. And I think Kerry probably will reflect and see the they might have changed things up a little bit going into it. But look, hindsight is a great thing.
Well, why was this such a different game from the game in Parnell Park, where Kerry were in Dublin's faces and putting them under pressure?
Yeah, I suppose Dublin just came. I really think that overall, if you look at the season as overall, like Kerry were the team of the league by a country mile. They were the team of the league and they were going to win the All-Ireland. Dublin were in the rebuilding phase at that stage. Mick said it after the match. They'd lost their 8 or 9 All-Stars. They had 14 new players in. And if you look, or if you listen to any of the interviews after the game, Mick and the players, Carol and the rest of the girls who spoke, they said at the start of the year they weren't thinking silver. They were dreaming of it and they were hoping of it, absolutely. But it was a way off. So they worked really hard, and I just think their timing of their season was to a T. So they were just coming into the business end of the season. So the quarter final, the semi final. I think Mick would have learned a lot from that game in Parnell Park. So I think, like, on the other hand, Kerry were coming from the league just absolutely flying form. Come into the Munster Championship, yes, got a trimming from Cork. But I think, as I said, a lot of credit does have to go to Mick Bowen, where he would have learned so much from that match in Parnell Park. He'd have learned so much from the Munster final defeat Kerry had against Cork. And I think he would have all that coupled with them coming right at the right time, the right time of the season. I just think they blew them away. I do think Kerry brought that intensity, yes, in Parnell Park. I actually think, was Jennifer Dunn missing that day in Parnell Park?
I don't know.
I think Jennifer Dunn was missing that day in Croke Park. I was going through team lists and that, which that goes without saying would be a huge loss as well. I think she just ran the show yesterday. She was incredible, like 2 points from midfield. She was all over the place and ably assisted by Ailish Dowd. She was everywhere. Like that block for the goal chance there in the first half, like just the work rate and effort all over the pitch from Dublin was unreal.
Gerard read out a quote earlier from Declan Quill, where he's talking about the number of fouls and cynical fouls on the Kerry players. So he said, and I quote him, he says, "I don't know how many cynical fouls Dublin had, an awful lot. They've had a lot in their last 2 games. There were no cards shown. I don't know. Look, I'm not going to go down that road," as he goes down that road, I guess, in bringing it up. But does he have a point? Like, was this a...
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Dublin were really cynical. This is not having a go at Dublin because they play at the edge of the game. The referee allowed it, and they were really cynical. Anytime it looked like Kerry might be getting in on goal, there was a foul given. The foul further out the field slowed up the Kerry attack. I think it was something like the free count was something like 26 frees for Dublin, maybe 14 for Kerry. So it kind of just goes to show disparity between the two teams. But they're really cynical. And there was no yellow cards. Look, I don't like yellow cards. I'm glad there's no yellow cards. But in other games there would have been. So it goes to show the difference maybe of refereeing styles as well. But they were definitely cynical. They got away with it. They played the edge of the game, and do you know what? Good for them. I remember playing my first All-Ireland final back in '99. It was long for sin bins because I definitely would have been in it. But it was the back of the day when the two teams went back to a banquet at the same hotel, and the referees and officials and everyone was there. And I remember I played centre back that day, and as Mark with a girl called Mary O'Donnell, unbelievable for Waterford, way better footballer than me. So I just found her for the whole day just to stop the play. And I remember the referee coming up to me and he said, "I should have sent you off today," he says. But the moral of the story, he didn't, and I got away with it. And the game was over. Similar, Dublin, they got away with it. They played in the edge. I thought Leah Caffrey did an unbelievable job on Louise. But saying that, she got away with 50-50 calls, and that's what Dublin do. They've learned the tackle, they've brought the physicality to a new level, they play in the edge of the game, and that went for them. They brought a new physicality to it yesterday that Kerry couldn't live with. But yeah, so again, it's I would go down that road. It was physical, it was there to be seen. I personally like that part of the game being brought into it, but I suppose then it comes down to, will one referee let it go, and will one referee pull it up? If there was a different referee yesterday, are they going to pull up some of those frees, and is it a total different game then at the end of the day?
The game,
I suppose,
the game in
lots
Parnell,
of questions.
the game in Parnell Park was there was a fair bit of niggle in it by the end of it, and I didn't feel like Kerry brought any of that to bear, particularly in the first half. They were completely passive, and as you say, Hannah Tyrell was already player of the match by half time, but it was essentially over at half time, unless Kerry came out and blitzed early and scored a couple of early goals, like all great scoring the late goal and hoofing the ball in at the end, but like it was too little too late at that stage. So like, why were Kerry so passive at the start, knowing that there was already, like, so you come to Dublin, you beat them in Parnell Park, they're not going to be, oh yeah, that's grand, try it again there.
Yeah, look, I don't know, is it a case, if you look back on the Kerry games to date this season, they've blown teams away in the first half. So I don't know, was it a case that they went into the game wanting, which every team should do, but wanted to implement their own game plan and say, yeah, we'll focus on ourselves, we'll go at it and we'll blow them away. And Dublin just had different ideas. They were the ones blowing Kerry away. And as you said, when half-time the game was over, because Kerry have been a first half team majority of the season. They've blown teams away, and while they've let teams come into it in the second half, they've been the forefront. So I think they were just blown away. I don't know, was it the occasion? Was it the blistering start that Dublin got off to? But as you said, there was none of that niggles. You were looking for someone maybe just to stand up and put in a hard tackle, or, you know, just get a little bite going in the game, and nobody did that for Kerry.
We should talk about Shifra O'Shea coming off the bench at half time with an ACL. It's a obviously a physical miracle. She is going to have surgery. There was obviously the tear, wasn't it? There went into some detail in the papers, and I'm going to butcher it now if I try and recount it. But essentially, it seems like there is a tear. It'll need repaired. It wasn't so bad that with the programme that she did, that they get some stability into it. Like, I understand the desire to have a totemic figure like that involved, but at the same time, I'm not sure it speaks to the rest of the panel about our next player up mentality, which we preach in all high performance environments, and then actually not in this case. Sorry, we really need this player if we're going to be able to win. So I don't know, what's your sense now? Again, hindsight's 2020, but it didn't work for Henry Shefflin.
Yeah. Look at it. I think the game has gone from them, so it was probably a bit of a pointless exercise now. That's in hindsight. She came on, turned the game, and gave the team the lift they needed, and went on to come back into the game. We'd be saying what a masterstroke it was. It didn't work yesterday on yesterday's occasion. I know what you're saying about the panel of players, that they could have said, I'm fully fit here, I'm ready to go. But I suppose Shifra was their leader, is their leader. She's the work put in all year. I'm not so sure a player that calibre and a player that importance to the squad, would there be too many grumblings from the rest of the squad members? Would they just happy for her to go on the pitch and see if she could do anything? I was having this discussion last night with my husband about this actual thing about Shifra coming on, and he was like, really, I don't think it was the right thing. I was like, look, if it worked, it worked. I'd be on the other hand then, I'd be like, well, if she was fit to come on, I'd be kind of thinking, would we start her and see would it cause a bit of confusion for Dublin? Dublin set out their stall at the start of the match and did their match-ups and did everything right. If they saw Shifra lining out, because it was kind of kept quiet, if they saw her lining out at the start of the game and put somewhere else, would that have caused them to maybe change a few players, change a few match-ups? Would it be enough to cause confusion for 5 or 10 minutes at the start of the match and see how it goes? Again, I don't know, it's hindsight and everything. But yeah, I get your point. In a high performance environment like that, would it upset some of the panel players? Is it the right thing to do? I think at that stage of the game, as we said, hindsight is a great thing, but the game was over, bringing her on. It was hard to see how someone with an ACL tear was going to come on and turn their fortunes when the girls on the pitch couldn't do it.
The other thing we kind of spoke about it earlier was the Kerry goal chances as well, Yvonne. Like it felt very much like Kerry were targeting goals, and maybe early goals. They wanted those quick starts that they've had, as you said. Nimor Hurtig's chance going over the bar, and then Lorraine Scanlon had her effort blocked by Ailish Dowd. And after both of those, I guess, chances, after the Nimor Hurtig one, there's 16 minutes before Kerry get another score, and then after the second one, Tyrell goes up and scores a point straight away. So targeting goals, it seemed, but it just wasn't working for Kerry.
Yeah, and look, I actually thought Dublin would need. I thought there'd be more goals in the game. I thought Dublin I thought Dublin would get goals, so like for Kerry to keep them out was great. But yes, I think Louise's goal chance in particular was really important. I think that was a turning point in the game, because I think that would either put them level or put them a point up. And it was a point. And look, if there was anyone you wanted to get the ball in that position, it was Louise. I do think that was a missed opportunity. If they got that, it was definitely a turning point in the game for me. The second chance, yes, it was a chance for Lorraine. It was great. It was great block by Eilish, but at the same time, it was kind of midfielder shot as well. No disrespect to midfielders. It wasn't kind of one of your key forwards on the ball where you're like, we've a really good chance here. But saying that now, Eilish did do a great job of snuffing it out. There were key moments, and Kerry definitely did need them in order. Like, Kerry always needed goals to get into the game. If you look at any of the matches during the year, they needed goals. Just a point on that, talking about needing goals. Dublin scored 18 points yesterday. That's the highest amount of points ever scored in a ladies All-Ireland final before. I think the highest before this was 16. So when we talk about Dublin's defence being really good, and Hannah Tyrell and midfield and everything else, to put those 18 points up in the scoreboard in the All-Ireland final was no mean feat. Like, it was unbelievable.
Can Kerry utilise this heartbreak, Yvonne? Like, you saw the scenes of utter devastation on Louise Neward-Hurtig's face after the match, but like, that's 2 All-Ireland final defeats in a row, and I guess it can go one of 2 ways now.
Yeah, like it's tough on the Kerry girls, and I definitely felt for them yesterday. Like, what they brought to the championships, more so this year than last year, what they brought to the championship this year has been brilliant, because they brought freshness. They brought, hold on, look, this team coming, they can win an All-Ireland, we can win an All-Ireland. It just brought an openness to the championship where it's like, hold on, this championship's wide open. It's not going to be maybe Dublin that wins. It was the hope of possibility they brought, I think. And they played some incredible football throughout the year. So for them to lose their second All-Ireland row is sickening. And you could see, I think Carol Rose said in her speech as well, like, Dublin have been there. They lost a lot before they won their first. So like, it is tough on them. They're definitely on the fence. I think I saw an interview there from one of the managers saying he's missing out on his son's football games. Like, it's a lot of commitment for the management team. It's a lot of commitment for the girls. They do have a relatively young team, like, while they have a core group of girls that are on the old, like, kind of around the 30s, and every team needs that. Like, they are young enough to go at it if they stay together. If management stays on, if they go at it again, they absolutely have the ability to go and win in All-Ireland. That goes without saying. But it's definitely in the balance now of where they go. Do people step away? Do management step away? Or do they stay together? Like what this group have done in the last number of years, coming from Division 2, getting to 2 All-Irelands. Like, it's no mean feat. Like, we're talking about the brilliance of Dublin, and rightly so, but at the same time, and it just didn't work out for Kerry yesterday, as it didn't last year, and that's going to hurt them hard. There's 2 All-Ireland finals now where they haven't performed. But if you're in Kerry, there's lots of possibilities. Like, what if they can perform on the big day? They know they can get there now. They're very, very close. Yeah. So if they just bottle that and get the performance right for an All-Ireland final, it's 100% there for them.
Yvonne, we leave it there. Good stuff. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.